Politics and religion might really have any special correlation with one another. Religion was born out of political unrest and turbulences. An example from Oriental Asian countries, China, the third biggest country in the world, is living in harmony and prosperity.
But it is not what it is like before. And it's because
Thanks to its social reactions, knowledge, and philosophies, it managed to shape its culture sophisticatedly into China we know now. China's political journey must have been rough and unstable due to different dynasties' reigns over the years.
Daoism, recognized as one of the major religions and philosophy of all time, plays a significant role on our beliefs, lives, and especially politics.
in ancient China, the political implication of this Daoism was mainly an opposition to authority, government, coercion, and even to normal socialization and values. Taoist spontaneity was contrasted with subtle or overt indoctrination in any specific or social Tao.
The scope of this documentary is to have a conversation with a selected few of individuals with vast knowledge regarding this topic, with the main goal in mind, that is to find out how Taoism affects and impacts politics and our political structure as a whole. And it left our minds lingering from the same questions that kill our curiosities.
So, alongside with Sean Kenneth Mesa and Tracy Cabrera,
And including our professional subordinates,
I am Dennis Henry Cruz, presenting Daoism, the way to the cycles of change.
actions in order to be completed. That's how philosophies and even religions emerge. They find solutions that are designed to control the population and create the new order of things. We can see this even in cases that is not relevant to religion. For example, the French Revolution gave rise to a lot of things, but specifically, the idea that we can be more democratic in our political system than any empire has been in the last decades, centuries, and millenniums. It's things like this that gives rise to progress, development, and contributes to changes in societies. And we call these notions, and eventually some of the notions become religions and philosophies, and they start to become very famous. You can see them in your personal life, and you can see them on a societal scale.
Now, it's important to consider the fact that during those times when all the dynasties were happening, China was barely united into one powerful nation. Everybody wanted power, and so it would usually turn into a living nightmare when a power vacuum would take place.
A lot of things happened during the Zhou dynasty. Advancements in their warfare when they decided to start using iron instead of bronze. Merchants also became more relevant during this time because a lot of economic trading happened, which would result in a sort of Chinese Golden Age.
However, it's difficult to predict when eras like this will end and how they will end.
After a few years, even though the Zhou dynasty lasted for substantially longer time than their predecessors and future dynasties before, it was not immune to political conflict.
This is where the Ottoman Spring period happened and what will be called the Warring States period.
During the Warring States period of Chinese history from 475 to 221 BCE, China was predominantly divided into 7 competing nations. The discipline that had grown in importance during the end of the Zhou dynasty had now become states of their own. And so it was every state battling one another, and when you think of this time, and you really think about it, you'll understand why something needs to happen in the near future.
What would happen is that we would soon see the birth of the 100 schools of thought. Around this time, metaphysical and epistemological questions were being raised by philosophers such as Pythagoras, Heraclitus, and Parmenides. On the other hand, on the other side of the world, China's philosophy was more focused towards finding a belief system and a discipline that would provide aid and control and would give ethical justifications in order to avoid these political crises.
Now, this is where beliefs like Confucianism and Daoism started to become a thing. Both were the result of great conflict and were developed in order to help de-escalate that conflict.
Daoism started thanks to Lao Tzu, or the Old Master. He was believed to be conceived by a shooting star who was born out of a virgin mother who kept him in the womb for 82 years. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty long time. He served in politics by being a government archivist, but similar to how Confucius felt while serving their rulers was that corruption was a predominantly present thing in their society. Lao Tzu felt frustrated with the corruption, causing him to quit on his job. He then planned to leave the state of Chu in order to avoid conflict and was detained at Hankou, passed by a gatekeeper named Yin Shi, who requested him to write a book for him before leaving.
This book that Lao Tzu wrote would inevitably become the Tao Te Ching, a book about the Tao and the way to reach self-development.
Now, Daoism was more focused on becoming one with nature through what they believe as wu-wei, or action through non-action. At first glance, you think that it's a pretty lazy notion. Do something by doing nothing? What's that even supposed to mean?
What Daoism was trying to point out is that the natural equilibrium and order of the world is the best guide for the best of all the outcomes.
Not interfering with nature when it's not needed is a very important philosophy under Daoism.
In political perspective, we understand that China during this time was filled with unworthy rulers who would rule with corruption and would entitle themselves to their self-interest.
These traits were more than enough to disrupt the balance of nature, And so the goal was to eliminate those factors of the self to gain political stability along with nature in harmony.
This is where politics and Daoism intertwined. Chinese and its political conflict gave the growing need of establishing a belief that is centered around the notion that we can fix this through a change in the system that we run.
Daoism taught me that there's always something enough little for us to rely on. Imagine living in a world where you have to fight for yourself just to assure your security. But Daoism erased all those concepts and ideas. Because we can still do enough if we choose to live in harmony with the universe and the energy found within it without harm, knowing the right from the wrong, no corruption, and taking the right path of the way we know.